Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to our Academic Writing Center presentations and workshops. I hope that you can hear me very well. If yes, inshallah, today's presentation is going to be about IELTS Preparation Module 1. The presentation is going to be presented by Dr. Rabia Khan. Dr. Rabia Khatun Khan works at King Abdulaziz University as language instructor. She has completed her BEd, TEFL, Diploma in TESOL, and IELTS trainer certifications. She has a master's degree in English language and linguistics. Currently, she is a PhD candidate, and her area of interest is language pedagogy. She also works with the Academic Writing Center as a writing consultant. Dr. Rabia has conducted talks, workshops, and poster presentations at several internal and international events since she is particularly committed to her professional development. Thank you, Tana. Thank you, Dr. Parveen. The floor is yours, Dr. Rabia. If you want to start, you can take the initiative.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamal. Welcome everybody for our session, and I'm so glad that I have this opportunity to discuss about writing task 1 from IELTS. Um, let's start right away. In today's workshop, we have some objectives. First of all, we'll talk about format and tasks. Then we will move on to strategies and some examples. We will look at some samples, and then we will have a sample from an actual student and we will analyze that. We will do some strategies and some techniques to further strengthen our capability to attempt task 1, and then we will have some practice by the end of the session. Um, so basically, the test format in writing tasks in academic IELTS, we have 2 tasks. Task 1 is, it should be 20 minutes long, and it requires us to write minimum 150 words. And task 2 is 40, it should be 40 minutes long. I have mentioned the time scheme because that's what we should follow when we are doing the task, writing task. So basically, we will do task 1 today, and we will have another session for task 2 in coming days. And actually, the words are counted by examiners. They have this software, and we are not supposed to write too many words. That's why I mentioned 150 words for task 1 and 250 words minimum for task 2. That's what is required of us being, taking the examination. So when we are doing task 1, the minimum requirement should, as I mentioned before, it should be 150 words to 160 words in between. And in writing task 1, we are supposed to describe some, charts and diagrams and graphs. So first of all, let's look at the requirements that we need to look at. We might have a diagram that can be a process, a map, a bar chart, a pie chart, a line graph, a table, multiple graphs. And that's what we are required of dealing with in task 1 specifically. And since task 1 it should be short and it should consume no more than 20 minutes, we will interpret a diagram or a table, and at the end of the day, the test taker will present the information in their own words. And what we are supposed to do is we have to organize, present, and compare the data that has been provided in the task itself. So in task 1, we will have a visual representation of information that may include a graph, table, chart, diagram, and we would that the students would be asked to summarize, describe, explain what they have seen. And pass on the information as accurately as possible. Sometimes we have a process or procedure task. And in that case, we have to describe the stages of that particular process. It might ask us to describe objects or event or series of events in its original form. And sometimes, if it is related to a process, it explains us to describe the how something works. So basically, we are running against the time when someone is doing writing tasks. So it should be timed writing. So minimum 20 minutes to be used for this task. And minimum 150 words should be written. This is the minimum number of words that is required of you. There are criteria on which four criteria which are used to be which are used to do the writing scores, and we will discuss them one by one. So first of all, we have task achievement, that is 25% of the total grading process. Then we have coherence and cohesion, that is again 25% of the total grade. Grammatical range and accuracy, it constitutes of 25%, and vocabulary range or lexical resources, 25%. So let's discuss consideration for the task. The first one is task achievement. So basically, when we are doing task achievement, we should have the skill to answer the question completely. And we will look at questions themselves, and we will find out how we are going to interpret the answer and accomplish those. Then we have cohesion and coherence, vocabulary, where you have to have good range and appropriate wordings, and grammar, which should be accurate, and it should be concise and correct, and it should be related to uh, the requirement of the writing. When we talk about task achievement, it requires us to analyze the chart or graph. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve by the end of the writing. Then we need to highlight the key features in the overview. So basically, we will discuss the pattern of the written structure of task one, and we will discuss more about it, writing the overview. And of course, it follows by the body paragraphs with some details, which are very relevant to the graph or chart. And we should avoid putting in some ambiguous, unneeded information, because it will stretch the time and it will be useless to work on. And basically, task one should be objective. It should never be subjective. So we avoid giving our own opinion. And eventually, it is a factual report. As I mentioned before, it should be objective. Like, it should based on the actual facts from the graph itself. So no personal opinion is needed. So in coherence and cohesion, when we look here, it is the examinee capability to produce an answer that is clear, fluent, and basically it integrates well together. And information and ideas are organized logically, and paragraphing is sufficient, and it manages all the aspects of linking and cohesion. Okay, and they should know where to put in the information with regards to the logical order. Um, and they should use referencing also. For instance, they should not go back to writing the same words again and again, and they can use the referencing, for example, that, this, that, it, etc. We will find out more about it in our coming slides. So this is just the overview that we are talking about, and then we will move on to some, more detailed aspects of writing task one. So lexical resources, as we learned before, is our uh, range of vocabulary. And it's not about introducing long and intricate words. No, it's about choosing the right words. It's about choosing the relevant words, appropriate words, words which are required and accurate. And we should have a variety of vocabulary. Instead of repeating the same words again and again, we should have a good store of words to use in particular cases. And of course, avoid spelling mistakes. That's what our students should know, that in order to be successful, even though if they're using the appropriate words and relevant words, if the spelling is wrong, it's not taking them anywhere. Sorry. And finally, don't use informal language. So when it comes to grammatical range, so we are just looking at the criteria to be fulfilled in the task one now for now. Okay. So before we talked about task achievement, then we talked about coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, and finally we have grammatical range and accuracy. So basically, it's the producing accurate grammar, accurate sentence structure, with correct punctuation and right word order. So this is what grammatical range and accuracy is about. And we are expected to use different structures to describe numbers and trends and make comparisons, and basically connecting the language together. So when it comes to the first task, it's about 33% of the overall grade. So if you have two tasks, task one, task two, task one comprises of 33% of the total grade, and the rest is 67%. Even then, 33% is a good number. It's an important number. So we should be more considerate while accomplishing it to do our best to get that 33%. So I'm coming again and again on timing, right? So you need to get your timing, and you need to inform the test taker that they have this particular set of time scheme, and they must follow it. So before actually going for the exam, they need to be very well prepared and ready by doing timed writing, because it's sometimes very hectic to plan and implement that planning in just 20 minutes, under 20 minutes, not over 20 minutes. So examples, we will look at some examples, kind of chart and graphs that we might have in task one. So what does it look like to you? Can anyone explain what they see it as? And maybe they want to name this. Does it look like pie chart? No, it looks like, yes, Eamon? Sumaya mentioned it's a process. Very good, excellent.
It, it's like the cycle of industry, maybe.
Absolutely, it's a cycle. Yeah, and of course, there's a cycle that resonates with the process itself. So it's a process diagram. The next one is, we are very familiar with that. What do you call it? Anybody who wants to mention the name? Absolutely, absolutely. It's a bar chart, sample bar graph. What about this? Of course, we have two things going on here, and that is, multiple graph question. It is a possibility. Sometimes they have this multiple graph or chart question, and you need to explain two of the charts together. What do you call it? The photo itself, the first one and second one. It's called line and bar graph, and they are used to describe together. The first one is line and the second one is bar graph, as you can see. What is this called? I assume we have many educationists here, so they might have uh, familiarity, and they must have done their researches, and of course, things with these kind of charts and graphs. So I assume that you all know that this is line graph. So it's just a sample. And how do you recall this? What it does it look like? This one. Is it a chart? Is it a graph or a table? is. Anybody? Absolutely. It is a table. From CU. Good job. Uh, so we might have tables in task 1 also. And it has numbers. What does it look like? This image on the slide. Absolutely, Ms. Sumaya, you are right. It's a map. Thank you. What does it look like? This image in front of you. Absolutely, that's my favorite pie chart. So yeah, so I have given you some samples of what kind of graph or charts you might have in task 1. That includes pie chart, line graph, bar chart, and we have map and process diagram. So we might have any of these in task 1 in academic writing. So when you have a question in front of you and we have this urge going on somewhere in our head that how do I answer this question? So basically you have to do 3 basic things to structure an IELTS writing task 1. So you have to introduce the paragraph, you have to introduce the graph / chart, number 1. You have to give an overview, and the third step that you want to do is to give the details. Okay, and the most important part is you have to pay attention to the trends and categories given in the sample. So we will look at some trends and categories in coming slides, and we will find out what they are dealing with. So we have 3 essential things that we are going to talk about today. Number 1 is introducing the graph. Number 2 is giving an overview. And 3 is giving the detail. So first of all we need to do is determine the primary trends. What is going on in that graph? What are the numbers talking about? What are the key factors involved in that graph or in that chart? The second thing you want to go with is to note the significant increase or decline in something. Okay, there are certain rise and falls going on in that graph or chart. Okay, number 3 is you have to look at the prompt itself, the topic itself, and there are some instructions that are consistent and clear, and you have to focus what kind of things are consistent and clear in the given prompt. And 4 is, does anything stand out as unexpected? Sometimes you have a graph in front of you and there are some striking numbers going on, very high, very low, some inconsistencies. So you need to pinpoint what is the most unexpected number or fact going on in that graph or in that chart. And we need to figure out about the numbers if they have some relationship or if they are interlinked together. So on your screen, you can see there we have a line graph along with its question. And the questions, they look like this. They give you instructions that you should spend about 20 minutes on this task, right? As it's already agreed upon. Then the question itself, and then you are being told that you have to write at least 150 words, just to be clear. So as you can see, this line graph shows changes in the amount and type of fast food consumed by Australian teenagers from 1975 to 2000. Now you are being asked to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. And it's not a must that you should make comparison, but they're giving you this opportunity to make comparison where it's needed, right? Now, let's look at this question itself and let's find out if we can get something striking from this graph. Now, what trends do you think are highlighted here the most? Let's look at the color. We have blue, red, green. Okay, so the color represent what? You look at the prompts here. We have foods, pizza, that is blue, fish and chips, that is red, and we have hamburgers, right? So we have to look at the trends here, and then we have the linear line, and we have uh, numbers which are representing the number of the year from 1975, 1980, 1985, and 5 years apart. Okay, so the heading of this graph is consumption of fast food by Australian teenagers, right? And before moving further, we want to look at the writings on both sides of the lines. Number of times eaten per year. So you can see 0, 20, 60, 80, 120, right? So now, for now, we are just looking at the graph and we are trying to understand what is going on here. We talked about, sorry, we talked about some trends, okay? And where are we? Why are we here? Okay, we proceeded further. Yeah. So first of all, when we are starting to write, we need to introduce the graph itself. So the best way to introduce the graph is by paraphrasing the question. Okay. I have no idea. Does anyone have the same problem as they mentioned? All right. Maybe you can sign in again. Okay. Okay, let's look at introduction to the graph. So you can introduce the graph by paraphrasing the question prompt itself. So don't go beyond your understanding and go ahead and paraphrase the introduction. This is needed. This is required of you. Introduce the title, the topic by paraphrasing. Now, as you can see, the the prompt says the line graph shows changes in the amount and type of fast food consumed by Australian teenager from 1975 to 2000. So we are going ahead and we are paraphrasing the same prompt into our own words, and you can read it yourself. So we have changed some words, but they are basically the same. They are interpreting the same meaning. And we mentioned the words teenagers in Australia because this is needed. This is the topic of the question. And we mentioned 1975 and 2000, the age, the time period, with inclusion of our own understanding of the time that it is the period of 25 years, right? So that's it. Introduction requires you to paraphrase the question. Go ahead and do that when you have this task in front of you. The second, um, the second important step that we want to take is after the introduction, we will give an overview. Overview of what? Overview is a summary of what you see in front of you. So you have a visual in front of you and you have to describe that. And that visual can be one graph or it can be multiple graphs or charts. And you should summarize what you see there. And the summary should contain the trends, the changes, the developments, if there are any, the stages, if they have any, and some noticeable feature. Okay, so don't give too much detail in this step. Okay, you don't need to go in detail and presenting the numbers. No, you don't have to give the numbers in this stage. So basically, you have to give the summary of the graph itself, right? So let's look at the overview that we have created. Uh, Overall is the transition that we are using, and we are giving us a striking trend that we have noticed before. So if you remember that we have like fish and chips, they are declining over the year. The consumption of fish and chips is declining over the year. So the person have chosen this trend, and they have mentioned it in the overview that over the years the fish and chips consumption has been declined, whereas the other two foods were consumed more, right? Now this is an overview, a summary of the graph. Now we don't have any number here, if you can notice. We don't need to give numbers here. The first one is introduce the graph, and what you do is you paraphrase it. Number two, you give an overview that is summary, and it doesn't include numbers, right? And of course, it includes the trends and things that are needed. Now, the first, we do the introduction, then we do the overview, then we go to the details. And in the details part, we introduce the key features. And key features, they contain the numbers, right? And the visual diagram has been described with the number of the years, the number of the consumption per year. So you have to mention in that all in the details. Yes. So what you will do is you have to organize the data when you're writing your details. Don't go haphazard or random, like you need to be very organized. For instance, if you're writing about the decline in the consumption of fish and chips, so you must stick to the numbers representing the decline. For instance, in 1975, it was like 100. So per teenager was eating 100 fish and chips per year, right? And then it declined to the consumption in at number 40, that per teenager was eating 40 fish and chips, food per year in year 2000. So we are sticking to one information now with its numbers. For instance, like I gave you the number with the most popular food, right? In 1975, we are mentioning the exact number when the kind of the food which was popular that year and the consumption. So then we are going forward further to the other two kind of food, that how popular they were at that time period and how they have been rising over the years. Okay. The paragraph is in front of you. I would like you to have a look at it, and then we will move on. So as per the paragraph, you have all the numbers of the years and the consumption number, the name of the foods, right? Then if we move on, we have a second body paragraph where you want to make some contrast, right? Before you presented as is everything according to the graph. But now you are going to present the contrast, how they have been declined, how they are on the rise, and how things are changing over the years. Okay. What is uh, noteworthy here in this writing is you are mentioning transition signals, right? For instance, you say overall, however, sharp contrast. And the thing is, when you mention the transition signals, it gives you a clear picture of where we are moving with our sentences, right? Now we have another um, bar chart in front of us, and we will do the same thing here. Now, if you look at this bar chart, what kind of trends are catching your eyes? I will leave it up to you. You have the prompt itself in front of you, and you have the bar chart, and let's find out the trends that are being discussed here. Anyone who wants to highlight what is being said here, what are the trends being followed here? first and foremost, look at the heading itself: British immigration to selected destinations. Then we have number of years: 2004 to 2007. Yes, Lena, you will have a certificate by the end of the workshop, inshallah. So let's look at the graph itself. Do you find something contrasting here, something outstanding, something that catches your eyes? Yes, come on. Yes, Dr. Nahid, we have four colors. Absolutely. Color is yeah, the picture representation itself. And the years and destination, perfect. Australia is the most popular destination. Yes, it is one striking feature here. The quantity in the Australian quantity, absolutely. So we have two lines. We have the names of the countries, and then we have numbers in thousands. Okay. Let's see what else we have. The prompt says the chart shows British immigration to selected destinations between 2004 and 2007. They want you to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison where it is relevant. And again, 150 words. Now, first of all, we will determine the primary trends for each mod in two. Okay, so we have already determined the primary trends. Then we will have, if notice if we have some significant increase or decrease. So do we have a significant increase here? And of course, decrease. Anybody who wants to mention the significant increase and significant decrease or decline? It's right in front of you. Yes. Significant decrease by the year. Yes. Okay, so yeah, we can say that. Clear decline in 2007. Okay, and where is the clear increase? We have clear increase in 2006 also in Australia. And we can see some consistencies here, like in USA, in USA and New Zealand, in the year 2005, we have not much, number going up. Dr. Nahid mentioned that it's Australia which is on the rise throughout that time period. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, let's move on. First of all, we need to introduce a graph, and by introduction, I mean paraphrasing the actual question. So easy peasy, go ahead and paraphrase the question. That's what is required of you. See, we did it here. The bar chart shows the number of people who immigrated. So what you will do is you will use the keywords from the question. Like we have British immigration. So we are using the keywords here, okay? We are using the name of the years 2004 to 2007. That's what, of course, we need to paraphrase everything and yeah, keep the numbers correct there. Then number two step should be, after writing the small introduction, you will write an overview of the entire graph, right? This is the second step. And what is evident from the graph is, as Dr. Nahid mentioned, that the most popular places to move was to Australia. See, that's a general overview. And of course, it's evident from the graph itself. Then we will move on to the details. And in the details, we will give the numbers of the people per year. As we mentioned Australia in overview. So let's talk about Australia first. Why not? So in 2004, the number was this few thousand, 40,000, just over 40,000. So they're not telling you to write exactly 40,000. No, we never do this. We use suggestive words because we don't want to imply the exact number because we are not sure. It could be just over 40,000. It could be just under 40,000. or about 40,000. So don't use the exact words to imply the number itself. So use suggestive words. That's what is mentioned like in all the, whenever you're preparing for IELTS academic writing, you need to be very suggestive, not accurate, of course, which was approximately 6,000 higher than for Spain. So now we are comparing this in 2004 trend that was higher than the next one. So the Spain is high and Australia is higher in 2004, right? They're making comparison here. Then they proceed to go on, that is twice as high as other three countries, right? So throughout the period, they are mentioning Australia that is jumping high in 2006 with around 52,000. So again, look at the words, the selection of the word around. So this is the first body paragraph with some details. Then we'll move on and we will look at some more trends from the graph, right? Where it is the least, right? Where it's balanced in between the years. So we can pick up the least and, you know, the ones which are not much into the immigration, right? So the popularity has been declined or fluctuating. So they have mentioned USA and New Zealand and Spain, where approximately 20,000 people immigrated, while USA fluctuated between 20 to 25,000, right? So look at the language itself. That's what I wanted to highlight is they're using the suggestive numbers. They're using the suggestive, words to give the numbers, right? And then we have some more information regarding some other countries. For instance, France was least popular for immigration. So what are we doing here is we are giving the facts. Is there any opinion involved here? No, because this is very much based on the facts, right? So we don't have to introduce that I think that France was the least popular country. No, never do this. Now let's look at some more samples. Now in front of you is the pie chart. And what do the trends suggest here? Are we talking about here or writing about here? Let's have a look. Anyone who wants to suggest the trends in this chart? Okay. About maybe percentage. Yeah, we have percentage going on, absolutely. So we have donated food, that is 86.6%, and we have program services, that is 95.8%. We have headings, revenue sources, and we have expenditures. So that means we are going to discuss these two factors in our writing. The prompt itself says the pie chart shows the amount of money that a children's charity located in USA spent and received in 1 year, 2016. So this data is only 1 year, 1 year's data, okay? And it's about the amount of charity received and spent in year 2016. And then we have some factors going on where they are telling us about community contribution when they are generating the resources, program revenue, and other income and all that. And where it has been spent on is program services and management and fundraising. So let's just look at the graph as an entity, as a visual representation of a phenomena going on behind it. Now, what we will do is, of course, you have determined the trends already. You will note significant increase or decrease if there is any. Then we have to look at the instructions. If anything stands out, just pinpoint it. And of course, if you have numbers like percentage, number of years, and all that, and here we have money, so you have the numbers. So what we will do at first is I'm repeating again, for the introduction, you have to rephrase the topic itself. Okay. And for the rephrasing, you have to enter the information from the prompt, from the question. Okay. So, for instance, the prompt says the children's charity in the USA in year 2016, right? So you have to include that in your introduction. Okay, good. We are good here. We need to rephrase the topic, and then we will move on to the next step, that is our favorite, overview. So overview is, as I mentioned before, it's the summary. Okay, so the first paragraph should include the introduction and overview. And as I mentioned before, we are not supposed to enter any number in overview. Okay. Now, slide is in front of you, and if you want to read through, just go ahead and read through, and then we will move on. So as we mentioned before, this pie chart is about the donations, incoming of donations, and the expenditure of that donation. And now you have pinpointed that total revenue resources just exceeded outgoings. So that's what you found out from the prompt, right? Now let's go to write body paragraphs. So it's advisable that you should at least write 2 paragraphs and maximum 3 body paragraphs, not too long body paragraphs. Remember, you just need to write 150 words. Don't overdo it. It's not worth it. Of course, it's worth it, but if it's taking too long, it will affect your second task. So now we have 3 paragraphs in front of us about that pie chart. Let's read those together, and then we will move on. Now here we can see we don't have irrelevant details, but we have the relevant details which are just fine to fulfill our requirement for the task itself, right? For instance, in paragraph number 1, they are giving us the overall percentage of charities earning from the food, right? And then we have outgoings percentage, that is 95%. See, it's a figure where they are giving us both the percentages of revenue and expenditure. The second paragraph is about the contributions from the community, right? And the percentage that was being contributed by the community, and investments again. So now we can see the second paragraph is allocated how the revenue has been generated. And the third paragraph, ultimately, it's going to be the expenditure itself, right? So you have first the numbers regarding the revenue and expenditure. The second one was how the revenue has been generated with the percentage, and the third paragraph is about how it has been used. Now we have a sample here. I would like you to have a look at the caption written under that graph and find out where it has gone wrong and what is wrong with this. Let's look at it. Do you think anything is wrong with this? Does it look fishy or incomplete or what? Yep, the keywords, absolutely. So how do you fix it? Like if I ask you to fix it, how will you introduce the keywords and what are the keywords going to be? Anyone? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are talking about the consumption of food, right? So we have introduced consumption of hamburgers because hamburgers themselves cannot increase and fish and chips cannot fall. Absolutely. But the consumption itself can increase or decrease, right? Let's move on. We have another wrong text here, and we want to look at the text and why it is wrong and how we can fix it. Yes, anyone who wants to fix it? Hmm, absolutely. Use of car. You're right. Yeah, buses and cars cannot fall, but the use can rise and fall, right? Yeah, you are you are correct, mashallah. You have found the problem, that is the use, the absence of keyword. So if the keyword is not here, even though you have given the numbers and you have given the trends here, but the keyword is missing. So we need to be very thoughtful of using keywords. Now let's analyze a writing. It's from one of my students, and mashallah, she was a very good student. She's in medical school now, and I'm using this text from her permission. um, we were doing some preparation and I gave her this prompt to work on. It was about a gym membership where they are talking about male and female memberships between 1980 to 2010. And she was asked to summarize the information and make comparisons where it's needed. So this is what the graph looked like. So she wrote about that, and we will read her writing and we will find out what she has done. So, first of all, if you were in that place, what would you look at? What would catch your attention first? For me, my attention always goes to the heading itself. It's the gym membership. And then after that, what would you look at? Yes, anyone who wants to mention? Yes, the axis. Absolutely. And of course the colors. We have colors going on. So I would look at the heading and the colors. Then of course the axis where they have men and women and we have number of years and we have numbers. Yeah, it's a comparative study. Thank you, Dr. Musarraf. So yeah, let's move on and let's find out what they have done. So the student have given an introduction and overview. So what we did before is we are uh, totally committed to this notion to rephrase the question itself. So let's see how she did. We can give her points for rephrasing, right? So, so the student, they used members and members, like she was giving the options, like she wanted to use this particular word and then she used the other slash memberships just to be sure that what she's doing is correct. Okay, so of course we were practicing, so I allowed it to happen, but in the actual exam we are supposed to mention, of course, one word. There's no need to use the slash with the other word. So how would you rate the introduction out of 5? Absolutely. I would give her 5. Yeah, she did well in introducing the topic, in introducing the graph. Then move on to overview. And as we talked before, overview is just a summary of the graph itself and the overall, picture representation that you have in front of you. Just go ahead and summarize it. Now let's read and let's find out how she has done it. And if she can improve it, she could have improved it because we have numbers here. And as per as we remember, in overview, we are not supposed to give numbers. It's very not very specific. Overview should not be very specific. Um, let's not consider grammatical errors. Yeah, there might be some grammatical errors, but let's look at the gist of the activity. But it doesn't point out the female membership. I mean, in the overview. Yes, she could have done better in, presenting both male and female memberships and how they have increased or decreased, right? Just the summary without the numbers. Anything else that you want to add? Okay, but pretty well, not bad. Like she has done a good job. We have some mistakes, but being the one who is preparing for the task, it's a good job. So let's move on. The details. Let's look at the details. And let's overlook the grammatical mistakes. Um, let's appreciate the factual numbers that they have given. They are supporting uh, their writing with the facts from the graph. Can you please turn off your mic, those who have this turned on? Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so you can see the first paragraph is about male membership, right? They have divided the two paragraphs easily, male membership and female membership. Easy. So it's a good approach. They have figured out that we have these two phenomena going on in the graph, and why not go ahead and divide the paragraphs according to those two uh, trends, right? So it's pretty smart, isn't it? Let's give her 5 marks for this. She has done very smartly. Great observation. Good job. And the only thing that was lacking in that amazing, wonderful student was she was slow. So when we would do timed writing, I would always tell her, okay, let's do it in 20 minutes. And we would turn on the stopwatch. And she was always exceeding to 25, 26 minutes. That should not happen with anyone. Okay. So I discouraged her when it comes to the time scheme. Of course, yeah. Yes, you're right. There are some minor mistakes, but yeah, overall it's a good writing. But the only problem she had was with the timing itself. She was an amazing student, good writer, but she would exceed with the time limit. So let's not forget about it when we are preparing for this. We should do timed writing. We should ask someone to help us with, timeline and then proceed with the, preparation. So what we have done so far is we have some general points that we need to focus on. The first one is register. It should be formal, it should be polite, and we should not use short terms. What are short forms? No short forms. What do we mean by this? No short forms. Yes, absolutely. Very good. So is not. We should not use an apostrophe isn't, because it's academic writing. So we all know that when we are doing academic writing, we need to use, of course, the actual original form, not the short forms. And Miss Dima mentioned gonna. Yeah, with the advent of all the technology and mobile, everything is so short now that it's very normal to use short forms in our conversation, in our writing also. Organization, it should be clear and logical, and style should be academic, no rhetorical question, no explanations, no extreme opinions. We are not going to give our opinions, okay? And no tentative expressions. And yeah, So as per the tentative expressions we have, this appears to be or this probably is due to blah blah. So don't do this. And the content should be relevant and complete. And you don't require a conclusion. That's a good news. So in this particular type of writing, you are not supposed to write the conclusion. Um, just leave it as is. Just give the facts. That's it. The do's in writing should be report the main features, look for the trends, formal language. We are repeating ourselves, okay? Just to remember the basic point. When and where it's needed, make comparison and contrast. Then we must use transition signals, coordinators and subordinators. I'll give you some good slide at the end that which have transition signals and all these coordinators, synonyms and antonyms. Why do we use synonyms and antonyms? Like, what is the motive behind it? What do you think? Why should we use synonyms/antonyms? There's a very simple explanation. Absolutely, Mr. Ibrahim. It is used for paraphrasing. It is used to avoid the repetition. Yes. And don't is, yes, Dr. Nahid, it's to avoid repetition. Don't describe everything. You are not required to describe because you just have 20 minutes and you must write 150 words only. So don't write so many details which are not required. Don't add anything extra. And we are not supposed to use personal pronouns because this is not subjective writing. So these are do's and don'ts, and we need to remember all these. Then we have some additional notes, some commonly used nouns, for example, to rise. Yes, absolutely. We use the synonyms and antonyms to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarizing. To rise or rise. So we have some common nouns, some verbs which are used as nouns. For example, to rise/arise, increase, decline, fall, drop, peak, decrease. So let's have a look that these are used as nouns commonly when we are writing first task. There are some adjectives that are important for all of us. Those who are doing the academic writing exam, IELTS, words with one syllable, higher, highest. So we have, the lexical resources here. So these are just few words, just for the sample, but we have like hundreds and thousands of words which can be used. We have one syllable word, we have three syllable words, we have words which are ending in Y, and this is just to give an idea to the students that how they can change the adjectives when they're making them comparative and superlative, right? Let's move on. Some transition and more. So as we mentioned before, the most amazing thing about writing is we use transitions and coordinators and subordinators to make it more interactive, more coherent and cohesive. So let's look at some transition word and phrases. However, so these are used for contrast. Okay, so we have two things: contrast and comparison. However, in contrast, on the other hand, in comparison, on the contrary, you can use them at your disposal. Subordinators are although, though, whereas, while. So let's look at this slide and then we will move on. For comparison also, we have good transition signals and subordinators and others like, just as, similar to, alike, and compared to. Prepositions are very important. Yes, we have some samples here: with, at, and, by, at, to, between, from, to, and off. So we have like numbers, more prepositions. It's just for the sample. Let's have some practice. We have 5 sentences, and you have the words in the box. So you're supposed to fill in the blanks with the appropriate preposition, and let's see how it pictures the ideas. So what do you think? What do we have in blank number 1? Yes, 2. Okay, we will find out if it's correct or not. What about second one? The first one, as mentioned by four people, that is two. The second is at, by. Okay. Anyone else who wants to budge in and give their opinion? In blank number two, so far we have at, by, and from. All right. Okay, but how about three? Shuruk says it's at. Dima says it's at. Abdul Karim says, Abdul Karim, you're talking about three or two? I guess you're talking about three, right? You're asking, yeah, by. Uh-huh. Okay. So now we have by and from. Mm-hmm. We will find out, by the way. I don't know the answers, okay? I'm asking from you. So by and from so far, at. What about for? From 2001 to 2010, the price of electricity has increased blank 125%. Okay, so we have general consensus that should be by. Number four is by, okay? And number five, how about number five? The last decade has seen a steep increase blank the number of people diagnosed with diabetes. What about five? N, N, okay. All right, let's move on and find out what are the answers, the correct one. So if you replied with the correct answer, claps for you. So the first one is two. You were right, absolutely. Those who participated, thank you so much. The first one is two. The second one is at. And yeah, we were very much correct in answering this. Good. The third one was from, and yeah, you answered well. And the fourth one, absolutely. We were all using the preposition by. And the last one was in. So see, the prepositions are very important for, the flow of writing. If you're using a wrong preposition, it can entirely change the meaning of the sentence. So we need to be very, very focused with the use of proper preposition. Now we have some adjectives and nouns. These are coined by someone who did it last year. Thanks to those, I have just took the screenshot from there and I posted it here. Adjectives and nouns which are usually used in the task. We can use them like gradual, moderate, modest, sharp, dramatic. So these are all useful words, adjectives that you can use in your tasks. And nouns also like decline, decrease, increase, rise, fall, fluctuation. These are all useful nouns which are repeated again and again with variation in the tasks. Then we have some verbs and adverbs. As you can see for yourself, we have very good verbs being written here, which are giving us, the trends, the rising and falling, the dropping, decreasing, go down, plunge, grow. And we have adverbs also. So we should encourage uh, us and our students as well to use the adverbs also because they look beautiful and they enhance the verbs and adjectives. They qualify or they modify the meaning of verbs and adjectives. Now, when it comes to the tenses, we need to be very sure what kind of tenses we are using. It depends upon the type of graph that you are using. For example, if the graph is talking about the year 2005 to 2010, that means it's past. But if the graph tells you something that starts from 2012, of course that is past, but it talks about 2023 or any further, like 2030. So you will use both past and future and present. Okay. So we have to be very smart with the use of, the students have to be very smart with the use of the tenses. And it should be according to the time frame that they're following in the graph. Okay. And you might provide a time period in certain graph that spans in present and in future. Sometimes it's related to the past only, and you can merge when it's necessary, when it's needed. You can merge the future tense with past. And yeah, sometimes the picture is about a timeline or a process, right? And they are different at different stages in time, so the times for them can be different. So we might compare the present stage with the past stage, or the present stage with the future stage, right? So for that, it should be done with, smart, some extra planning. And thank you so much. As we are nearing the end of the session, I would like to do a small quiz. I will send you a link through the chat. Okay, so please join that link, and we will do a short live quiz before ending the session. Um, Let me copy. Okay, I'm sending you the link. Okay, please join the link. And this is a live quiz. I'll share the screen with you. Um, yeah. So once you join it, I will start it. You are welcome. Thank you very much for attending. So actually, this is a very general quiz. Okay, there is nothing complicated here. Very easy peasy quiz. So let's see how many of you have joined. Only 11. Oh, okay. We want to have a good number. Okay, let's join everybody. It's just 14 questions, not too long. Yes, we will start in a minute or so. We just have 20. Please, everybody, go and join. It's a very fun, easy, small quiz. It won't take too long. I'm not starting it yet. Okay, let's see. How many of you have 25, 26? Okay, yay. So we have 27 so far. See, we can see you here on the screen. All right. Yes, those who are not joining in, I don't know why they are not joining in. Like, it's so fun to do this. All right, so only 30. Should I start? That's disappointing. It's only 30. I was expecting more. Should I start? All right, let's start. Okay. So many of you have, mashallah, almost done. Okay, let's wait for a minute or so before finishing it. All right. We're almost done. So let's look at top five. So we have top five here: Amal, Sumaya, then again Sumaya, Arij, and Riyad, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Okay, we are still on the go. Okay, so we're almost done. Thank you very much for your participation. It was a short, quick quiz. I hope you have enjoyed it. And we have like top five. I hope they give us a summary of top five. So we had like this. Uh, see, so the okay. The first one is Amal. All right. So yeah, it's disconnected somehow. I needed to see who is first, second, and third. But congratulations, those who who had first, second, and third. Um, yeah, inshallah, we will have a second session in coming weeks. I think Dr. Kamal has mentioned the first one is Amal, then second is Sumaya, and third is Sumaya. Congratulations. You are welcome. I'm so glad that you attended the session. Okay, so that was it. If you have anything to ask, any question, the floor is yours, and I would love to answer your questions. Thank you, Dr. Amal. Thank you, Dr. Nahad. Thank you, Sra. Thank you, thank you, everybody who has been saying thanks. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Rabia. Actually, yes, it was a very exceptional, impressive, useful, interactive workshop. And inshallah, we are looking forward to having the second workshop about IELTS preparation tasks to, inshallah, in 2 weeks from now. That is Wednesday, the 17th of May, inshallah. Thank you, everybody, for your excellent interaction, your participation, enriching the workshop. And I'm attaching and posting the 3 usual links for evaluation forms for those who are interested in the certificates, then how to make online appointments, and the last one is the YouTube channel for the Academic Writing Center, where you can find all the recordings of our workshops. If you complete the evaluation form, inshallah, you will get your certificate within 24 hours at most. And for the recording for today's session, inshallah, again, within 24 hours, it will be on the website, on the YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Rabia, again and again for the wonderful workshop. Thank you, all participants. And I would like to thank the new colleagues who joined today. Thank you very much and have a nice night.